Hey everyone, Kevin here. I wanted to share with you my opinion of Donald Trump's real problem with additional stimulus checks and why we might actually see more stimulus checks and support from Donald Trump, but not in the way that you think. See, we've heard Donald Trump say in the past that he is not against additional direct payments to individuals, aka more stimulus checks to us, which is good. That's positive. That's encouraging. We like that. We like to hear that. But Donald Trump is facing something known as the unemployment conundrum. The unemployment conundrum says that, wait a minute, if you could be on unemployment and right now receive a minimum of $2,400 per month, which is basically like getting 2 stimulus checks per month. Those $1,200 stimulus checks, yeah, you get 2 of them per month, plus your state's paid unemployment. There's zero incentive for us to go back to work. And so what's happening now is as we start noticing a reopening happen, and as we start noticing more productivity and excitement around the Gilead drug, remdesivir, that suggests maybe we'll have a treatment cocktail for the coronavirus COVID-19 disease, well then maybe we could now reopen our country, get back to work. But the problem is, if we issue more direct checks, all we're potentially doing is giving folks more direct payments and unemployment. So now all of a sudden, let's say you get another $1,200 check, you might be getting unemployment of $2,400 a month from the government, another $1,200 check, plus money from your state. Heck, you could be getting like $4,000 a month doing nothing. That's a problem because if we're not working, well then stores don't have employees. And if stores don't have employees, what can they not do? They can't repay their paycheck protection loans. And all of a sudden, the forgivable loans, which Republicans were all over passing in Congress, are no longer forgivable. All of a sudden, now you have businesses really pissed off. The whole point of lending and bailouts to businesses is to get businesses to rehire workers. But businesses can't rehire workers if they're struggling with the unemployment conundrum. That is, people don't want to go back to work if we're milking unemployment, getting big payments. And another stimulus check actually keeps us at home longer. It makes sense. And I'm not saying that I totally agree because obviously there are still potential risks of going out, especially if we have underlying health conditions. It's a concern for a lot of people. So definitely not taking sides here, left, right, or center, but I totally see the conundrum Donald Trump faces. So what I do believe Donald Trump and the White House staff are going to be proponents of is something that they've already said they're going to be proponents of. Some sort of incentive or stimulus that you get when you're back at work. For example, let's say you get a wage boost. We've heard of this as a suggestion before, and we're going to see this come up in talks. And this is just a proposal and idea right now, but maybe instead of a payroll tax cut, which is a little bit complicated, we don't really see that as clearly as we might a stimulus check. What about a wage boost? Something essentially that says, hey, if you're back at work on June 1st, your wages for the entire month of June are going to be up 20%. That is, you'll make 20 cents more for every dollar that you ordinarily earn, or otherwise you make $10, you're now making 12. You make 20, you're now making 24. Some sort of boost like this for employed people. And then maybe perhaps there have even been ideas floating around that, well, what if you're self-employed? Well, then maybe you submit some contracts or some 1099s of pay that you've received, and you receive some kind of boost by asserting that you're actually working and showing that you're collecting money by working. Your business is open and operating again. In other words, I don't believe the White House or Donald Trump are anti more stimulus. Certainly, the states and local governments might not need more stimulus if the Fed keeps bailing out state and local governments. Like we've just seen, they've been increasing their bailouts for small and medium corporations. They've been increasing their bailouts for municipalities, buying up more and more municipal bonds. So we already know the Fed's going crazy bailing out those, so maybe we don't need a 4th stimulus package for them. We had talked about that earlier today in a video. But then when we combine that with the unemployment dilemma, it makes sense. Of course. Why would they send more checks directly to us when instead it would make more sense to get us back at work, which when we're back at work, companies can pay off their forgivable loans or have their loans forgiven essentially because they've brought us back. Now we're working again. The engine is starting up again, so to speak. Then we become consumers in society again and we spend, and the economy goes back to hopefully at least some degree of what it used to be. This is also what the Federal Reserve wants. ones. Remember yesterday's video where I talked about the Federal Reserve? They said they're worried about that long-term economic damage of us not being at work. The longer we're not at work, the harder it is for us to go back to work. So this to me is all very fascinating and completely makes sense. So maybe what we're going to see from the White House, at least, and this might end up being what we see in Congress next week, is, hey, you know what? If you go back to work, you'll get stimulus then. So keep an eye out on this. I don't believe the White House is going to strictly take a let's do nothing, wait and see approach. I think the White House knows, A, that's not a very good political move, and B, a lot of folks need help. One way or another, we need help. But expect it to be some sort of way to incentivize us to go back to work. Because after all, if we go back to work, they don't have to spend the money on unemployment. So turn it into a worker benefit and all of a sudden becomes a net neutral budget decision for the government. My POV on this, let me know what your thoughts are on this. But when I hear the White House and Donald Trump possibly suggesting, hey, you know what, maybe we don't need a fourth stimulus package, this is, in my opinion, the direction that we're more likely to go. Some sort of back to work incentive. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure to check out my programs linked below. There's a coupon code in there for my awesome programs where you can join me every day live at 9 a.m. Get your 2 free stocks with Webull. And of course, get your quote for life insurance and sign up. It takes 5 minutes on your phone. You can Apple Pay for it. And we will see you tomorrow.